And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host, SMASho, aka Dan. And if you notice, I'm completely decked out in orange-colored clothing today. The reason for that will probably become evident by the end of the video. We're starting things out by looking at the sun in 304 angstroms to see two large rising cycle 25 sunspots. The one in the north is quite significant. There's a whole bunch of plasma associated with it, and you can see all of that filamentary behavior up there in the northeast. And you can also see a sunspot rising in the southeast, and that one is already identified as a sunspot. So we've got two sunspots about to get named. I think that one's 2764. Correct me if I'm wrong. And the one up north should be 2765 by the end of the day today. By the way, we are streaming live to Twitch. Today's title is Two Large Cycle 25 Sunspots Rising. Lockdown Crock? Frown? Are you frowning right now? Anyway, here's the area that we're talking about, and we've put the Earth scale in there for today so you can see the size of the filamentary behavior. And here's the 304 angstroms view. All that plasma still suspended out there right now. So we've made some custom views also. Let's take a look at this sunspot as well. And this is a sunspot already, folks. There is umbra associated with that. And that sunspot is about the size of the Earth, give or take. And you can see that that is a cycle 25 sunspot all day and then some. Check it out. And we've made some custom videos here. Here's that sunspot. Again, I believe it's 2764 if I remember correctly. So there's that custom view, and that is 304 and 171 angstroms superimposed. And here's that, probably going to be sunspot 2765 here. That one is definitely large, and it's definitely in charge of quite a lot of suspended plasma filaments. And also that gives us a good view of the north solar polar region. No significant prominence is coming out of there, but we like to see some activity, not just because it's reinforcing the fact that we were correct when we predicted cycle 25's onset late August, early September of 2019. Here's another 48-hour image here, an SDO movie. And that one's 94 angstroms. This is one of the best wavelengths to study things like sunspots and solar flares. I think I can zoom in a little more here. Let's see. I think there's about one more mode. There we go. Give you a view of both of those rising sunspots. And while this one is not yet showing umbra, at least while I did show prep, which by the way took forever today, I believe that will show umbrae by the end of the day because the fields are very large and very organized. Let's look at some more data. The KP index is currently at 1, having been only at 1 or 0 over the past 12 hours. 10.7 centimeter radial flux, 68. So expect this to rise promptly. Probably by the end of the day today, this will go up, I don't know, to 72. That's my guess. Here's where stuff is in the solar system. There's where stuff will be in 1 week. And look at, there's a straight line in between Venus, the moon, and the Earth. And the sun is practically on that same line, which is very scary and spooky, folks. I know you can't explain the physics behind it, but for some reason it's very, very scary and spooky. We should be seeing Venus swing through on some LASCO images coming up soon. Here's a star chart. I like to use in-the-sky.org. And I like to face my star chart to the south because, well, when I make the video, I'm facing south. And the ecliptic is to the south if you're in the northern hemisphere. And my couch faces the south also, so there you go. Lots of reasons. And by the way, if you're up before sunrise, you should see the moon, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars all near the ecliptic. And check it out, we actually had a solar flare while I was doing show prep. So just about a B-class flare there. So not quite a B-class flare, it looks like. I'm not going to zoom in on that, but yeah, expecting to see some significant solar flares coming up as these sunspots rise, especially that northern one, because it is big. Proton flux remains flatline, no surprise there, as we see quite a weak solar wind. It looks like the onset of a fairly weak coronal hole wind stream here, as we see the density came up around 1430 yesterday, and now the density looks like it's just about peaked out here around 10 protons per cubic centimeter. Current reading 7.86. Phi angle currently at 237 degrees. Solar wind speed 308 kilometers a second, which is a very low solar wind speed. And we're going to skip the cosmology segment today, as I believe we'll be doing another edition of the Diamond Anvil. And I think Diamond wanted to talk cosmology, something about how black holes don't exist. Well, perhaps we'll talk about the way to do science and the way not to do science, and what is science and what's not science. So look for another video coming out this afternoon. In the meantime, here is the Geospace Magnetosphere movie looking at the magnetohydrodynamic pressure. And we see a fairly weak magnetosphere, nothing like what we saw yesterday. Because again, over the past 20 hours or so, we saw an uptick in the solar wind density. Expecting to see the solar wind density come down and the speed go up today. Again, it looks like a coronal hole wind stream from the Discover telemetry, real-time solar wind data. And here's the ground magnetic perturbations, of which we don't see very many. One thing we do see as far as ground perturbations is lots and lots of shaking in Nevada. And since that refreshed, let's let it run through again here all the way, just to show you 4 hours of data. And by the way, this is courtesy of University of Michigan. And for that, we thank you. It's all based on the space weather modeling framework, and if you want to read it, just do a search for ground magnetic perturbations, scroll down to the bottom, click on the details tab, and then click on the space weather modeling framework, and you can learn all about how the data is derived. It is a model, folks. GOES magnetometer, there's the data from that. Looking a little bit smoother here, and this could go all over the place throughout the day today, especially as those two large sunspots rise. So here's the data from the Gong 2, and you can see the current sheet is still entirely charged up by the south pole polarity, shown here in red. And look for some changes coming to this too, as those sunspots will most certainly affect the fields and the plasma. Here's a line of sight field plot, and we don't see any major perturbations in the B field over here, which is shown in blue. We don't see any major perturbations yet, but as those sunspots evolve, we should see the shape of this area over here change a little bit. And we won't get into the specifics of it, because this is the daily space weather. Keep in mind the data is 2 hours and 15 minutes old and can change with absolutely no warning. Electron flux is incredibly low. Here are the relativistic electrons as reported by Solon.info. Very, very low levels of electron flux here. And here's the total electron content forecast. This is going to show you the entire atmospheric column in between the ground and what do you call it? Satellites. What the heck do they call those satellites? Geostationary satellites. Things like GPS. So, very low levels of electron flux. Expect to see quite accurate GPS measurements, even at the equator at noon. And there's the GOES electron flux. It came up a little bit and then dropped right back down, and no surprise there, this will not rise up throughout the day today. So we're expecting to continue to see a massive electron shortage. And by the way, that's all measured right at the F2 ionosphere layer, where the GOES 16 lives. Next, we'll look at the ionosphere. Now we're looking at only one layer of the atmosphere, the ionosphere, the part where the plasmasphere meets the atmosphere. So here we're looking at 6 hours of data. This is courtesy Bureau of Meteorology, Australian government. It's looking a little more normal than it had. Some anomalies once again over the South Atlantic anomaly, no real surprise there. I'm not sure if that gets more extreme during Northern Hemisphere summer or not, but there's the current image coming in at 8:15, looking pretty normal actually. Next we'll look at pressure cells on windy.com, who has a great mobile app, by the way. If you never checked out Windy's mobile app, I have, and now I'm going to vanish. Here's where we expect things to be according to the GFS forecast at 12 noon tomorrow my time. And if you're wondering where I'm located, to all you new viewers and irregulars, well, I'm located in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Next we'll look at earthquakes, and we're going to have to scroll up the list here and truncate the section because there are too many in America. We don't see anything over a 6 magnitude. We're just going to report deep quakes or weirdo quakes. So here's the largest of the past 24. I believe it's a 5.3 at Tonga, right near the, well, Tonga really is in the deep quake capital of the world. That area north of New Zealand, featuring places like Tonga, Samoa, and Fiji. And let's just scroll up the list here. Going a little faster today, folks, because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So we apologize if the video got kind of long. We will try to make clips later so you can share with your friends and with your foes. Here's one in northern South America at depth. Depth is 164 kilometers, and the magnitude is 4.4 at Colombia. And just scrolling, lots and lots and lots, and lots and lots and lots of quakes in Nevada, following that 6.5 magnitude that was undoubtedly felt all the way down in Las Vegas, despite being in a fairly mountainous region. Yes, it's right near Area 51. I don't know why that's relevant, but okay. It's near Area 51. Cheers. And just scrolling up the list here, not a lot to report on. Let's move on to talk about volcanoes. Mount Aso's erupting, flight level 6,000 there. Sakurajima, flight level 6,000 there. Samaru, flight level 14,000 there. Dakono exploding, 5,000 foot plume of ash there. Popocatépetl exploding, 19,000 foot ash plume there. Sangay exploding, flight level 20,000 there. And intermittent emissions out of Sabancaya should not make it your mission to pole vault the caldera. That could be unhealthy. And what's going on during your lockdown? Are you like going, oh my gosh, oh no, Undertaker, Kane is going to put you in a COVID ward on a ventilator. Oh, it's very scary. Were you aware that sunlight at room temperature will destroy coronavirus in about 5 minutes? Yeah, so one of the things that went on yesterday, and this is not COVIDiousy, was an explosion in Los Angeles, injuring at least 11 firefighters. Yes, a honey oil factory where they make butane isolated honey oil exploded in downtown LA yesterday, injuring a bunch of firefighters who ran out on fire. They're all going to make it. Nobody died. Thank goodness. And let's just say if you were breathing in that smoke, you might have been a little baked. So 2 articles here we covered today. One on Zero Hedge, one on USA Today. Yowzers. Bad times in downtown LA. One of the things you might like to do while you're locked down, because the government said to be, is to go on Facebook. So if you check out facebook.com/smAsho, I'm there. So, and we put up all the videos there. And this petition to recall Governor Tom Wolf, the ineffective COVIDiotic governor of Pennsylvania, please sign the petition. It's been gaining some traction. And today it turns 1 week old. So let's see if we can get it to 100 signatures today. And I don't care if you're around the world, sign the petition anyway. There's good reason to get rid of Governor Tom Wolf and his COVIDiotic administration early. So please support it. Let's get rid of Governor Tom Wolf. Now, let's talk about the Diamond Anvil. Another episode coming out today. We have playlists. We've created playlists on the YouTube channel. One of those playlists is the Diamond Anvil, Too Hard to Smash. I think we're going to talk about black holes today, if the Skype messages that I received are any indication of what Mr. Moriello would like to talk about. So anyway, again, check out our playlists. We've got Smash Lights, we've got the Diamond Anvil, Too Hard to Smash, aquarium videos, get outside into nature, people, tutorials, teaches you how to use the Smash Forum and so on. Thanks to our new subscribers, please take a moment to press like and subscribe, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on BitChute, wherever you are. Leave us a comment. Share with your friends. Share with your foes. Yesterday we did a live stream exclusive, Orange Fish Bad. And yeah, everything orange is bad and very, very scary and spooky, folks. So that's why I'm wearing orange today, just to freak you out. Were you aware that capitalism was abolished on the 23rd of December in 1913 when Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act into law? Now, I don't know if you're aware of the way capitalism died that day. People came back to work on January 2nd and capitalism was dead. Now, if we could just simply construe interest rates as a price, it would become immediately illegal for the Fed to change the prime lending rate. They would have to be controlled by market forces. The same way your grocery store is not allowed to call another grocery store and price fix the price of apples or milk, the Fed should not be able to price fix the price of loans, because that eliminates competition from banking, because interest rates really are a price, folks. What do you look at when you're shopping for a mortgage? The interest rate. The largest blocks of business in the world are the interest on international and corporate loans. Therefore, if you think you're living in a capitalist society, think again and end the Fed. We're also on Minds, minds.com/smAsho. We put up exclusive content there, which is why we did a direct upload of Sunspot 2764. It's a helioviewer.org movie. Thanks everybody who's listening to the original music. Super exciting. Check it out. Molybdenum 99, now number 36 on the chart. Here's a teaser. Number 36 in the chart, folks. Quite amazing. Let's see if we can get into the top 20. Now that track is only 99 cents if you want to buy it. Add it to your MP3 collection. Soundclick.com/Golden Cat Productions. Seeing the highest charting of some songs that we've ever seen. So thanks everybody. I'm not sure what position it is in on the subgenre chart. I'm not going to look at it for now, because we got to keep moving on here. Now, have you read the Swiss Policy Research, swprs.org? There's all kinds of interesting facts on there. And it hasn't been updated since May 6th. They've now switched to monthly updates. But let's just say there's some interesting data on there, such as, well, let's see, how about this one? Let's just find a little COVIDiotic piece of data for you here. Just kidding, folks. It's not COVIDiotic data. Were you aware that about 95% of patients show mild symptoms at most? Were you aware? Up to 80% of test-positive persons remain symptom-free. Even among 70 to 79-year-olds, about 60% remain symptom-free. Were you aware that cats and dogs can contract COVID-19, aka SARS-CoV-2, aka the scary, scary, spooky coronavirus? Over 90% of all persons show mild symptoms at most. Anyway, we've updated smashomash.com/forums section about it. smashomash.com/forum. An over 30-page data repository that's been updated nearly every day since January 23rd when we started covering it. Anyway, please read that Swiss Policy Research site, especially if you like real information as opposed to fear-mongering nonsense and a complete misunderstanding of infectious diseases. The policy decisions that corporations, but especially governments, are currently making are ridiculous, ineffective, and serve only to do further damage. You will never stop a virus which can affect cats and dogs. A vaccination protocol is far too difficult to administer, and even testing is basically irrelevant. Up to 95% of patients display mild symptoms at most. Quarantining healthy people is morally and functionally wrong. People with no symptoms wearing masks is similarly ridiculous, as are people driving solo with no masks, riding bicycles wearing masks, people walking down the sidewalk alone wearing masks. Have some discernment and some common sense, folks. And also, please share this story that we picked up from Zero Hedge, how Huxley's X Club created Nature magazine and sabotaged science for 150 years. We've even put the share link at the top of the article. So please have yourself a read about the way Nature magazine has been subverting science in many ways since its inception. Perhaps have a read about Jacques Benveniste, Jacques Benveniste, an interesting immunologist, let's say. And in 1979, he published a well-known paper on the structure of platelet activating factor and its relationship with histamine. You see the relevance? Or perhaps read this. This is also linked in the article. Here's a quote. I leave this beloved shore with the regret not to have it in my power to tender to you services adequate to your merit, to your sufferings in the cause of liberty, to the interest which the most distinguished men of learning and good feelings in Europe take on your behalf. Your talent as a professor, your devotion to freedom as a representative, so they call it. Anyway, it's all linked on that Zero Hedge article that we linked in the forums. So go have a read and set up a login and stuff on smashamash.com/forums and contribute. Now, we've become part of the blue checkmark crew. And if you want to see that other video about the sun, smashamash.locals.com, Dave Rubin's new site, we've uploaded directly to there to keep exclusive content on all the sites. So check it out. Blue checkmark. Holla. Shout out to Dave Rubin. Nice site. And we're hoping that it does well. Now, yesterday we made a bunch of homemade onion rings and potato chips. And man, oh man, was it fantastic. If you don't have an air fryer, I highly recommend it.
Chips now. We've completed the onion rings also, and it is a huge success.
So if you don't follow us on Instagram, you might not know about how bad orange fish is.
Orange fish bad. Orange fish bad. Warning. Warning. Orange fish bad.
One of the things you might like to do when you're locked in your house because the government said you should be is to read about eusociality. What's eusociality? It's the highest level of organization of sociality. What things like bees and ants do. So maybe have a read about that. Maybe have a read about siafu, otherwise known as Doralus. Now, these blind ants can form marching columns of up to 50 million ants. And if they decide to come through your house, guess what you do? You evacuate. Because if you step on one single ant, they're going to lose their minds and they're going to attack in mass because they emit pheromones the same way bees do. So this is one of the reasons why you don't swat bees, because pheromones tell them to go to war. Now these soldiers, they have a giant head and giant jaws and a stinger, and they've been known to eat small animals. So it's they could eat a person, probably. A 50 million ant column could probably eat a person. And if these things decide to go through your house, you just leave your house. It's a beneficial insect like most hive colony animals are. Let's talk about my favorite one of all, the bald-faced hornet. Now, this is a beneficial insect. As you see those giant jaws, those mandibles right there. These animals do feed on pollen and nectar, but mostly on insects, which is why the honey in hornet hives is not sought after, because it's full of chewed up bug parts. So, if you've got a bald-faced hornet nest on your property, don't destroy it unless it's by egress lines. In other words, it is dangerous if you disturb the nest. Otherwise, these animals are docile and they will generally not ever attack you unless you stress out the nest directly. So there are ways to relocate these things. It's a little complicated. It involves putting them in a burlap bag and putting them in the freezer to reset their clock, and then tying the branch that you've cut off to a different location that's safer. It can be done, believe it or not. These animals are ultra beneficial. They're hardcore pollinators, and they will police your yard. They will eat all kinds of other insects. Don't kill the bald-faced hornet. It's super beneficial, and I don't think it's in any kind of distress or anything like that. I think they're fairly safe. The bald-faced hornet, one of my favorite animals. Have a read about them, perhaps. Now, we're looking at the surface winds here on nullschool.net, and it's because we've got two major low-pressure systems here. One here off the east coast of Florida, and one here over East Texas. That one pressure system is anticipated to really strike the coast of North Carolina. The Outer Banks should be already experiencing some major surf. I wish I was there with a wetsuit. Let's look at the normal section here, and we're looking at flight level 25,000, aka the jet stream. And check out that meridional jet stream flow. Cold air being injected into the southern U.S., causing the severe storms. If people are telling you that hot air makes storms more severe, global warming, OMG, it's so spooky and so scary that it's causing storms to intensify. That's more people who don't understand atmospheric physics. Ask Tony Heller, he'll agree. Check out the extreme jet stream flow here. Major cold air being pushed down toward the Great Lakes into places like South Dakota, North Dakota. And doubled up jet streams and just extreme meridional jet stream flow on a global scale. Here we've got doubled up jet streams over the southern hemisphere. We've got broken up jet streams over the northern hemisphere. It's all over the place. There are the jet streams of both portions of the planet. Next, we're going to look at water vapor maps here for Europe and Africa. There are those water vapor maps. Here's water vapor maps for, here are water vapor maps for the Far East and Oceania. And here's a lightning map, and we see some lightning striking once again in the U.S. If you've never checked it out, lightningmaps.org. Next time you hear thunder, check it the heck out. And hey, St. Louis, there's thunder rolling in. Hey, Jerseyville. Yeah, lightningmaps.org. It could save your bacon. And we see major storms here as this cold air gets sent down like this. You can see these arc-like storms. And we see some counterclockwise rotational features going on there. And they're looking pretty stagnant. I believe there's some dry air holding them up. We'll get to it in a minute. And there's what's going on in the cloud layer. Now, we typically make these daily space weather videos before sunrise. And if you want to look at the clouds when it's dark, try the GOES shortwave. It's the GOES shortwave satellite. That one, 3 nanometers, 3.9 nanometers. And there you can see that powerful low there off the coast of Florida as well, which is expected to come up here and strike the Outer Banks hard. We'll show you in a minute. First, we'll look at water vapor maps to show you what's really going on. And there's a much better idea of what's happening in the atmosphere. Because water vapor can't hide from the water vapor satellite, and the reason that we look at this, folks, is because when water vapor is not condensed onto a cloud, it is invisible to the naked eye, similar to the way carbon dioxide is invisible to Greta Thunberg. And let's just zoom in on this area here over Oklahoma, as we see some rotational features there as well as massive pressure gradients. So some major convergence is happening there, and you can see, for instance, in this area here, you're going to have a massive temperature and pressure inversion as that upper level low moves over the top of that dry air, creating a waterfall-like effect and creating a whole bunch of Hall currents. You can see all of these lines perpendicular to the mode of motion of the water, an indication of the Hall effect going on in the atmosphere. Probably no surprise to our regular viewers. It's not contrails, it's not chemtrails, it's not HARP. It's nature. Anyway, if you're flying a plane over a path like this, expect some bumps, some big bumps. You might feel like you're falling out of the sky and then running into a wall. And now we're on Tropical Tidbits. I just want to show you where that's going to strike. We can see some heavy rain hitting, and then right there, forecasted 36 hours from now, around 12 Universal Time on Monday, May 18th. A major landfall there from that low pressure, and it's going to actually get all the way down to 998 millibars of pressure there. So there's the anticipated path of that. Via the GFS forecast on Tropical Tidbits. Hey, patrons, thanks for being the true supporters of this content, as YouTube strives and tries very, very hard to pay us absolutely nothing for it. We get barely any views on YouTube, and we get hundreds and hundreds of views on BitChute. So please subscribe over there also, as there will be more and more exclusive content as we do this more and more and do less work at our job. If you've noticed that I wear many hats, it's because I do wear many hats in real life, both literally and figuratively. So anyway, thanks again, patrons. We're also on Subscribestar. You can also do one-time donations at paypal.me/SMASHOMASH. Thanks for tuning in to Tales from the Smash Side, where we uncover where we uncover a normal star, just like the sun, only darker. And thanks, Smash Team, for sharing on your social media. Please share the content on your social media. We're having a little bit of trouble gaining traction over on YouTube, if you've noticed. So thanks for leaving comments. Thanks for pressing like and subscribe. Thanks for interacting on other social media and viewing all of the exclusive content of our web ring, which is constantly growing, and thanks everybody for helping it to grow. Next, we're going to look at the intensity gram to show you an umbra. And there you have, looks pretty dark. I mean, it's not high enough to have risen yet. Certainly looks like an umbra from here. I'm going to just go out on a limb and say that's going to be cycle 25 sunspot 2764. And then up here you can see this little blurry spot here. That's probably going to be a fairly large sunspot, because when you look at the magnetic fields, well, you'll see. So there's the most recent, and that field up there is quite significant. Looks like a large sunspot. So we'll be keeping an eye on that throughout the day. And when I say ion, the pun's intentional. 2764, I believe, is what that one will be entitled. You probably heard it here first, so cheers. And thanks for flying, American Smashways. Please keep your head and arms inside of the channel at all times. And last but not least, let's look at the 335 angstroms view. I like the soothing blue tones. Enjoy your Sunday, folks. Remember, stare at the sun. Don't vanish like I do. It requires great risk and personal responsibility. Stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you drink, don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may that solar wind be at your back and that covidiocy absent from your multiverse.